chewed up by your Chihuahua travel companion, please refrain from holding up the line. We ask that you kindly not be that guy, and instead simply go to Verizon and trade in any phone from their top brands in any condition on any unlimited plan for the new Samsung Galaxy S25 with Galaxy AI.
With new line on my plan. Additional terms apply. See Verizon.com for details.
Shopping with your parents can be embarrassing.
Why would they sell jeans with holes in them? I'm going to speak to the manager.
Mom!
That hoodie is giving. You should get it. YOLO.
Thanks to the Chase mobile app, your kid can shop independently while you keep an eye on their spending. So you can go from...
We can be twinsies.
...to...
How was shopping? Saw you stayed on budget.
Thanks, Mom.
Freedom for kids, control for parents. That's family banking from Chase.
Account subject to approval. Chase mobile app is available for select mobile devices. Message and data rates may apply. JP Morgan Chase Bank N.A. member FDIC.
Are you looking at diversification and stability with your investment portfolio, especially with the volatility right now in the stock market? Hi, I'm Scott Riereka, CEO of Legacy Group Capital based in Bellevue. We've been running local real estate investment funds for over 18 years. We've had 0 investor losses and have averaged double-digit returns since inception. Maybe it's time to take a little risk off the table given market conditions. For stability, there's no better option than Legacy Group's Northwest Fund, a fixed return of 9%. Legacy's Northwest Fund also accepts IRA accounts as well. Find out why over 1,000 local investors have invested over $250 million in our Legacy family of funds. Get in touch with us today. Legacy's Northwest Fund returning 9% has limited opening for new investors right now.
Call 425-635-4700 or visit LegacyG.com. That's LegacyG.com. This is not investment advice. Legacy investments available to accredited investors only. Details at LegacyG.com.
Oh, could this vintage store be any cuter?
Right? And the best part? They accept Discover.
Accept Discover? In a little place like this? I don't think so, Jennifer.
Oh, yeah, huh? Discover's accepted where I like to shop. Come on, baby, get with the times.
Right, so we shouldn't get the parachute pants?
These are making a comeback. I think.
Discover is accepted at 99% of places that take credit cards nationwide. Based on the February 2024 Nielsen report.
Why choose a Sleep Number smart bed?
Can I make my side softer?
Can I make my side firmer? Can we sleep cooler? Sleep Number does that. Cools up to 8 times faster and lets you choose your ideal comfort on either side. Your Sleep Number setting. And now save 50% on the new Sleep Number limited edition smart bed. Limited time. Exclusively at a Sleep Number store near you. Learn more at sleepnumber.com.
This is Seattle Sports.
Streaming through the Seattle Sports app.
KIRO AM Seattle. KIRO FM HD2 Tacoma. Home of the Seahawks, Mariners, and everything Seattle sports. Seattle Sports Snapshot.
The Mariners open up Cactus League today with a game against the San Diego Padres. You can hear that live at noon here on Seattle Sports and the Seattle Sports app. A big loss for the Cowboys. 9-time Pro Bowler and 7-time first-team All-Pro guard Zach Martin will retire, per ESPN's Todd Archer. He'll end his career as one of the most decorated Dallas linemen ever. Archer points out this wild stat from Martin's time in Dallas. Martin only accepted 7 holding penalties in his career, meaning he had just as many holding calls as he did first-team All-Pro nods.
Snapshot, brought to you by Miller Lite. When it's game time, it's Miller time. From the Quantum Fiber Studio.
This is Bump and Stacy
on Seattle Sports.
Streaming through the Seattle Sports app and at seattlesports.com.
Now, here are your hosts, Michael Bumpus and Stacy Ross.
Here we go now. A Mariners-Padres Cactus League game. The Mariners Cactus League opener is coming your way in 2 hours. At noon, we're sending you to Peoria to hear play-by-play. It's a 10-minute pregame show, right, Curtis?
Yeah, it's quick.
Yeah, very quick.
Cactus League, they get right to it.
They're just like, let's get
Not
into
a lot of
this.
pomp and circumstance.
And then it's going to feel very spring and very wonderful. We're going to speak with the voice of the Mariners, Rizzs, coming up at 11 to help set the scene, figure out what we're watching, what he's hearing. He's talked to, obviously, all the players, and so we're going to ask some stories about Logan Gilbert, George Kirby, and then we're going to dive right into the game at noon. Well, Curtis and I are going to leave. You guys are going to dive in.
Right, we'll still be listening.
We'll still be listening. Speaking of, Curtis Rogers in for Michael Bumpus. And Curtis, before we even get to our top story today, you had a tough morning.
What a morning.
What a morning you've had.
So I'm circling the block looking for parking around our studios, and My last place that I always check is this super steep hill that is literally right outside our door in the Seattle sports portion of our building.
And if anyone needs context, I have fallen down it before.
Yeah, it's
very slippery.
It's like 90
and
degrees.
Steep. Yeah.
It is straight up. No joke. To walk up this hill, there are like cement stairs that have been built into this thing to climb up it. It is so steep. So I'm like, okay, this is the only parking that's all day that I'm not going to get a ticket in. I guess I got to park on this hill. So I'm parallel parking. I fit into the spot like perfectly. We're good. I just want to straighten out the car a little bit. Now, the thing is that on the edge of the pavement, there is a bit of a like ditch where it's not that big. It can't be more than like 4 or 5 feet wide.
No, but it's not concrete.
Right. It's not. It's gravel. It's dirt. And today it was mud. And today, as I'm trying to straighten my car out.
Did you crash your car?
I did not crash my car, but it got stuck. Okay. I was not able to straighten the car out. So the wheels are spinning. It's bad. I'm like, okay, this is not good. So I try it again. And then this time I feel the car moving backwards. And then I'm like, uh-oh. Throw on the brake, throw on the emergency brake, and I am no joke, probably like 4 to 5 inches away from hitting the car behind me. So I'm like, okay, catch my breath. What do we do? Okay, call Geico, get roadside assistance. They send a tow truck. Takes them about an hour to get here. And so I am waiting for this tow truck. The tow truck shows up. I walk the driver up to where my car is parked because he was at the bottom of the hill. I was kind of midway up the hill. And he looks at my car and sees how close it is to the car behind me. And he goes, I don't think I'm going to be able to do this. And then I'm like...
Imagine getting
buddy,
a tow, and he's like, I can't help you. I'm so sorry. We should call a tow.
How do you suggest I get my car out then?
He's like, you got to tow it.
You're the tow truck driver. I am not.
I can't help you. He didn't believe in himself.
He did not. I basically had to like coax this guy into towing my car. And before he hooked my car up to the tow truck, he basically asked for confirmation. He was like, you will resume all damages in case this car starts sliding down and hits the car behind you. And I was like, yeah, I will take the blame on this 100%. This is not your fault at all. I'm the one that did the horrible parking job.
I mean, you're the guy who can't tow it, though.
Exactly.
Not to get personal, but
parking is not my job. Towing is your job.
I didn't show up today saying, I don't know if I could talk about the Mariners, man.
So he hooks the car up. I throw it in neutral. It comes out. It's great. It's fine. And luckily, we're here. We're ready to go. But it was a very nerve-wracking morning because I was like, I really don't want to have to deal with insurance today. I don't want to have to deal with just all the annoying things that come with like dinging another car. And
I don't know why my
found
heart...
a much better parking spot.
This story makes my heart grow 3 sizes because what I love about it is not necessarily that you eventually got your car out. Congratulations.
Thank you.
It's that this tow truck driver questioned
he didn't believe
whether
in
he was a good enough tow truck driver to do this, and he had it in him the whole time, and you Pete Carrolled him.
I did.
You literally...
It's like when Gino was getting mad at himself, and then Pete Carroll's just, calm down.
You looked at him
Let's
and
go.
Hey... You've got this. Lock in.
I use my gentle parenting techniques that I use with Willa and Blair that my wife is always reminding me of, and I use them on the tow truck driver. Like, hey man, let's figure it out together. We have encountered a problem. Let's not panic. Let's use our brains and figure this out.
Yeah,
and we did it.
I love that. I love that for him.
He's probably feeling a lot better about himself too. Like, I can do this.
I hope
maybe
next
he was
time,
new on the job.
Maybe. I hope next time he gets into a situation where someone's really close to another car and he just looks at that person and says, "Don't worry, I got you. Trust me. Trust me. I've got this.
We got this, buddy." Look me in the eye.
Well, I'm glad your car is free. That is stressful.
Thank you.
All right, let's dive in. John Schneider was on the John Schneider Show yesterday. It's Wyman and Bob, 4 p.m. Thursdays. Fantastic listen. And there was a quote that I don't want to say went viral, but certainly was circulated plenty here in Seattle. Mm-hmm. And you guys already know what it was. It was John Schneider saying that guards are typically overpaid, overdrafted, overvalued. People did not like it. And John didn't get a chance to clarify the comments or anything because I don't think that he or even Wyman and Bob expected. It was like a throwaway comment. They were talking about Jordan Mailata. I forgot what they were talking about, but it was kind of an offhanded comment that later on became a bigger deal. So this time around, they finally asked. Wyman and Bob were like, "Hey, care to elaborate a little bit on that comment?"
The statement, I guess, is really, it's not a level of importance. It's extremely important. It's highly valued. We still, to this day, because of the dearth of talent at the position, will overpay at that position and will overdraft at that position. We've been guilty of it, and we probably will be guilty of it in the future as well. It's just based on a level of talent. So it's a position that everybody is looking for, right? You know, we talked about the Chiefs in the Super Bowl, like what happened there, right? And that was rough. That was a rough go for those guys. I mean, every team, I would say there's probably about two or three teams that have really good offensive lines. The philosophy is not like we're not going to overpay. We probably will because we have to. But you have to be smart with those decisions, right? So what is the difference in, you know, are we gonna take away? Are we gonna overpay? Are we gonna overpay a guard and lose out on a defensive tackle? No, we'd rather pay the player that we think is a better talent.
So basically, he's saying it's a supply and demand issue. Here's a bit more.
You know, I worked with somebody that used to say a guard is a guard is a guard, and you don't pay him. I did work with somebody like that, right, in my past. But that's not the case with us. It's really like, okay, we have to put a value on people on people at the end of the day, and that's. I know exactly what you're talking about, you know, because it was really like, yeah, it's and it happens every year. You know, we'll see it this weekend too. You know, when we go down to the combine, yeah, you know, they'll be like, hey, you know, this player is you know, we would grade him as a solid backup or a solid starter. There's 2 grades like that. This guy's a solid starter. The guy might be a solid backup in our eyes, but he's going to get paid like a difference maker, which is 2 grades up, right? It's like, whoa.
Curtis, I didn't love the initial quote. I've been critical of it. I've been very critical of the Seahawks' inability to build up that offensive line. However, I can hear the frustration in John Schneider's voice because John Schneider is a smart football guy, and I think what he wishes he could say is that was taken out of context. And I think he's trying to say there are not a lot of good guards. And so a lot of guards that you'd have graded as a backup get paid like starters.
Right. I think he did a much better job explaining himself yesterday than he did a year ago during the John Schneider show when he, like you said, just kind of had a throwaway comment that grew a lot of legs.
When he didn't get a chance to explain it.
Exactly. And I wonder, too, if I mean, we didn't really pick up on it either until the season started, and then it was like, oh,
caught fire.
The guard play is really bad right now, and this is something that the guy who has been tasked with putting this together said. So I think he's more sorry for how he said it than maybe what he said. In that, like, look. You are dealing with a very limited talent pool when it comes to building out an offensive line. And that's true for every team. And that's true. He said, you know, there's only like 2 or 3 really great offensive lines. I don't want that, though, that kind of defeatist attitude towards building an offensive line hold this team back from constructing a really good offensive line. I want the Seahawks to be among that group that has among that 2 to 3 team group that has a great offensive line that I would guarantee you of those 2 to 3 teams that do have it, they're all probably Super Bowl contenders. The Lions, the Eagles, the Ravens, the Chiefs, even though the Chiefs
the Bucs had a great line.
Exactly. I think all those teams that have great offensive lines, you can easily pencil them in as a likely division winner and probably a Super Bowl contender. That's not where the Seahawks are right now. So I would love for them to be able to put some more investments on that rather than just going out and signing these veteran free agents, like not throwing Lake and Tomlinson under the bus or anything, but he fits that profile of a lot of guys that have come through here over the last decade of a guy who's probably like on his 3rd contract or whatever, probably 30 years old, maybe a former first-round pick, which Tomlinson was back in the day, but somebody where you know his best football is probably behind him.
Yeah. I agree with you ultimately that I don't know if it's like a defeatist tone, but I agree with you that there's this thing of, well, keep trying, keep throwing darts at the board and just seeing what sticks and doing whatever you can because While I can accept, and maybe there is a defeatist part of me that's just kind of born from being from here, but I can accept, hey, it is really, really hard to have a top 5 offensive line, and I might never be able to construct that. Like, I'm trying my best. I can accept that as an answer. I really can. I was a B student. But what I have a hard time accepting is continuously being, as you implied, bottom third. You know what I mean? Like, it is hard to look past. You're not just an average offensive line who's struggling to take a step forward and is going to have bad stretches of play. You are one of the worst offensive lines in football, and you have been more often than not. And that is a tough place to dig your way out of, but also it's incredibly imperative that you do, because you will never win a Super Bowl without taking a step forward there, literally and figuratively.
Right.
So if that means, in this one instance, trying a different approach, and maybe you regret it. Maybe you overpay a guard and you think, oh my God, that was so stupid. That guy did nothing for us. But I don't know that turning to an older veteran on the cheap, nor that turning to a rookie and hoping he overperforms, which is two things that they've done, has proven to be an effective approach there. Like, just keep trying it, man. Like, it's so easy for me to say, playing with house money, as opposed to a GM with his actual job and reputation and everything on the line, and I get that.
Yeah.
But it is, it's hard to watch. And I, all of that being said, appreciated the insight, and I think it is always interesting to hear what I think is a fairly candid. He's not. Someone texted in saying, like, I never, learn anything. I learn a lot from these interviews, because I'm not looking for him to tell me who he's going to draft.
Exactly.
Or, like, what went wrong with particular draft picks. But you can read between the lines with John Schneider a little more easily than you can some other interviews, and I find them to be comparatively candid.
Yeah, and I'm very grateful that John Schneider allows us to interview him every offseason the way he has for the last couple of years now. And I think, getting back to investing in your offensive line and doing it smartly rather than, as Schneider said, what was it last week, where he's like, you can't just throw money at a problem and hope that it gets fixed. I will say, though, probably the two best versions of the Seahawks offensive line that under John Schneider were the Super Bowl years, where you had a first-round pick in Russell Okung, a first-round pick in James Carpenter, and a second-round pick in Max Unger. And then
2018, maybe, when they were really good.
Yeah, with, like, Dwayne Brown.
Yeah.
And
the year after they got Brown, and then they got Fluker as a free agent. But he was a former first-rounder, right?
Exactly. And I think they brought J.R. Sweezy back to help out with guard play. But those, I think, were the two best versions, and, like, those were legit investments, trading for Dwayne Brown, giving up draft capital for him, and then also giving him a contract extension, and then using as many early round picks as you did on offensive line. I know Max Unger wasn't a Schneider pick. He was I think he was taken the year Jim Morrow was head coach. So it was the year prior to Schneider and Carroll showing up, but still a second round pick is a second round pick regardless of who it was that drafted him. And he turned out to be a really good selection made by the Seahawks. So I feel like if you take those pages out of the past, like, you have shown yourself that you can do this by investing in the offensive line rather than just kind of chasing and hoping that these flyers you take on guys hit.
Well, and he said he doesn't want to throw money at a problem, and it doesn't always solve things, and he's right. But we have a listener, Joseph, who's saying exactly your point, which is it doesn't always mean money. Sometimes it's draft picks or giving high draft picks another chance with you, like they did in that 2018 squad. Joseph pointing out, look, he says that they've probably overdrafted over whatever, and that all teams do, but they've used one first-round pick on an interior lineman or someone who became an interior lineman with Carpenter, and that was early in his tenure, John Schneider.
Was he even drafted as a guard?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah.
And then otherwise, the first-round picks they've used have all been on tackles, including Jermaine Ifedi, who was a late first-rounder.
Right.
They don't really use first, and rarely do they use second-round picks on the interior line.
Right.
So you can say, like, teams can typically overvalue these guys because they have to, not because they actually think they're worth more. But the Seahawks haven't really done that.
Right.
Not often.
Well, and gosh, if you look at their draft class from a year ago, I think weren't most of the picks made with, either the defensive front seven in mind or the offensive line.
Mm-hmm.
I think the only picks that were outside of that were the two cornerbacks they took, Nehemiah Pritchett and then DJ James, who didn't even make the team. So,
and I like the approach.
I do too.
I absolutely like it. I think the
and-
approach for the last couple drafts has been great.
Right, and it was clear. It was clear as day before the 24 season that you needed to beef yourself up on the offensive and defensive lines. I think they got good depth pieces, and I think Byron Murphy still has the capabilities of being a star level player in the NFL for sure. But you just need more. You need more and just continued investment because I don't think anybody, and I mean, look, Schneider said it last week too. Like we know where our hangups are, so we're gonna go out and address them.
All right, let's get to headline rewrites.
Extra, read all about it. Headline rewrites.
We must make headlines.
The real story behind the headlines in today's news with Bump and Stacy.
Headline number one, Stacy. Team Canada. They got the best of Team USA.
McDavid scores! Connor McDavid wins it for Canada! And Jordan Bennington has done it again inside the TD Garden.
That's right. Jordan Bennington won a Stanley Cup in Boston, too. And then he wins that. But Team Canada beating USA 3-2 in overtime last night to win the very first Four Nations Face-Off Championship. What's the real headline?
In a turn of events, it would appear Canada is now open to taking on more provinces. You didn't expect that twist.
No.
From our
Weird.
neighbors to the north. I shouldn't say never in such a short period of time. There have been a few stretches of Mariners season play where you find yourself becoming a diehard, like, Blue Jays or Royal, whoever it is you're rooting for the Mariners to make the playoffs. Orioles, remember when we were diehard Orioles fans? But in this case, I, over the course of 72 hours or so,
Went from being like, Four Nations Face-Off.
that's interesting, to last night, like standing on my feet, being like, we have to do this for God and country.
This one didn't sting as bad as the Sidney Crosby goal in 2010 in the Winter Olympics, but there was a bit of a gut punch feeling at the end. But look, it's Connor McDavid. He's the best player on planet Earth. Like, no one is better at their job than Connor McDavid is at hockey. Like, that's how good he is.
That tow truck driver is taking a step forward.
That's
though.
true. I had to talk him into it, though. I don't think I need to talk Connor McDavid into being great.
No, you don't know. He's not Connor McDavid yet, but he's just growing and learning.
Headline rewrites.
Headline number 2, the Mariners start their Cactus League schedule today. First pitch is coming your way at 12:10 p.m. What's the real headline?
And fans are still feeling prickly.
Ooh, a cactus joke.
Because it's a cactus joke, yeah.
I like it. I was telling you in the sports pit, the way we here in Seattle feel about Pike Place Market being shown as B-roll footage on every broadcast, that's how people in Arizona feel about Cactus being shown on every one of their team's broadcasts.
Now, a fair question. When I complain about Pike Place Market and fish throwing being shown, I'll usually get a question of, well, what should be shown? And I'll be like, I don't know, the sound.
Yeah.
In Orca.
Snoqualmie Falls.
Yeah.
Evergreen trees.
But
Mount Rainier.
there are probably more creative things I could think of. Like, what about really cool, shots, in like different districts in the city or whatever. But if I ask you the same thing as an Arizona alum, having lived in the state, like what would be a cooler thing to show then? Because when I think of Arizona, I'm gonna be real with you, Curtis.
It's
I
a lot
think
of cactus,
the desert.
a lot of desert. Yeah, you could show the ostrich farm on I-10 going from Phoenix to Tucson.
Love ostriches.
Yeah, you could show, there's the Grand Canyon, but that's also not really near Phoenix or anything like that. Yeah, you're kind of limited. You're very limited. You could show a lot of strip malls.
I was going to say you could show Chili's.
Yeah, you could.
Welcome to Arizona. Here's an Applebee's.
You could show an In-N-Out.
Yeah.
Or a lot of chain
Foot
restaurants.
Locker.
Yeah.
The mall. Just show the mall.
A Best Buy.
Look at an air, one of those like air water things.
Oh,
that
I
kind of
love
like,
those misters.
Show a car with a foil over the top of it or whatever it is.
Somebody putting a tray of cookies in their back window.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
how people cook cookies.
Where you hide things in your car if you leave them in your car for more than 10 minutes.
The oven mitts that people put on their hands so they don't touch their seatbelt.
Yeah.
When it gets ridiculously hot. Oh, yeah.
I wasn't used to that. When Derek and I went to Boise, I didn't realize how hot Boise gets in the summer. And for anyone from there or anyone from even Eastern Washington that's like, you idiot, of course. I am from Western Washington and I do not generally go east of the mountains, so I didn't know. I wasn't familiar with your game. And I got cookies and left them in the car for maybe 15, 20 minutes in 90-plus degree weather, almost 100-degree weather. They were done for. They were done for.
Headline rewrites.
Headline number 3, interesting move the Mariners made yesterday. They've signed veteran first baseman Rowdy Tellez to a minor league deal. What's the real headline?
Congrats on the new gig, Curtis. That was a shot for you. No one else gets this joke.
The joke is, last season,
just for me and Matt,
during a Mariners-Pirates game, I was watching it on my TV at home. I'm sitting there with my 3-year-old Willa, and I'm not really paying attention to what's going on the TV. And she goes, "Hey, Dad, why are you on TV?" And I look up, and it's Rowdy Tellez staring right back at me. And I got to be honest, there is some resemblance between him and me. We both are bigger guys. We both have pretty bushy beards.
He's a bigger guy.
Yeah, he's a big guy. He's baseball, but yeah.
I would say you guys could be cousins. It's
He's
not like
6'4".
a true.
He's much bigger than me.
You sent me once a picture of some guy on Twitter.
Oh.
Who was that?
It was just a random post. That guy
was
looked
crazy.
a lot like me.
That was your doppelganger.
Yeah. That was crazy how much that guy looked at me. Yeah, this guy named Riley Collins.
I hope you guys, though, just imagine Rowdy when you think of Kurt. Like, when you imagine Curtis, just think of Rowdy.
Yeah. It's me up there.
Yeah, every
Socking dingers. He's got great power, I'll tell you that, but he does not make a lot of consistent contact, which is kind of par for the course with baseball in 2025.
Go figure.
Hit 35 bombs in 2022.
And you're a star.
But last couple of years has not had such great luck. I did read, though, last year with the Pirates, I think he was like 20 at-bats away from reaching this $250,000 bonus.
I remember this.
And then they cut him.
Is that's not the one where there was that one reporter who had his stuff stolen? Was that him?
I don't know.
Let's look into this during the break. I need to refresh my memory. Fans kept calling for the Mariners to play more small ball last year. Is that the actual plan this season? That's next.
Blue 88 on Brock and Salk.
Brock, what is your bold prediction for the Seahawks this year?
Every day at 7:45.
I was looking at the numbers defensively when it was all said and done. Finished in the top 15 in your major categories. I think year 2 with more time on task. Year 2 with a couple additional pieces. Year 2 with everybody basically coming back defensively and hopefully adding a difference maker third corner. This could be a top 5 defense in the league.
Blue 88, answering 3 football questions as only Brock Heward can.
Are you curious about who offers the best deals on top-rated Samsung, LG, and Sony TVs? The answer is surprising. It's not online, and it's not the warehouse clubs. The best deals on top-rated TVs are at Video Only. Don't believe it? Then check out the trade-in deals at Video Only. How about $500 for your old TV? Try doing that online. Before you buy that new TV, drop into Video Only. If you don't, you'll be sorry.
Paid for by government. Now is the time to fill your vault with Morgan Silver Bars. Grab your piece of America's silver legacy with this special offer. These spectacular shining silver bars featuring a crisp image of the iconic Morgan Silver Dollar, a legendary coin that has captivated collectors for generations. Call now to secure 1-ounce silver bars minted in 99.9% pure silver and made in the USA. Don't miss out on this special deal. Regularly priced at $49.95, but for a limited time, only $39.95. Save $10 per silver bar. Limit of 25 bars per customer. The more you buy, the more you save. Up to $250 in savings and free shipping on every order. Plus, with qualifying orders, you'll receive a free Morgan Silver Dollar. That's a $59.95 value free. Call 1-800-937-4707 now to secure your 1-ounce Morgan Silver Bars for only $39.95. That's 1-800-937-4707. Why choose a Sleep Number smart bed?
Can I make my side softer?
Can I make my side firmer?
Can we sleep cooler?
Sleep Number does that. Cools up to 8 times faster and lets you choose your ideal comfort on either side. Your Sleep Number setting. And now save 50% on the new Sleep Number limited edition smart bed. Limited time. Exclusively at a Sleep Number store near you. Learn more at sleepnumber.com.
Are you 50 or older? This news is for you. The CDC now recommends you get vaccinated against pneumococcal pneumonia. Even if you're healthy, your age puts you at risk. People 50 or older are over 6 times more likely to be hospitalized with pneumococcal pneumonia compared to adults 18 to 49. Just one shot can help protect you. Learn more and schedule at vaxassist.com. That's VAXassist.com. Sponsored by Pfizer.
Whether you're tinkering in your garage or tackling big projects, if you know the value of working with your hands, you know Harbor Freight. And you can be confident knowing that at Harbor Freight, you can get quality tools at prices that work just as hard as you do. Because the only thing more satisfying than a job well done is a job well done, well under budget. Whatever you do it for less at Harbor Freight.
When might you be buzzed? When you suddenly love everything.
You guys, I love this song.
I love these nachos.
I love our kickball league. Ugh! I love this guy.
What's your name?
You know what I'd love? A ride when it's time to head out.
If you see a buzzed warning sign, call for a ride when it's time to go home. Buzz driving is drunk driving. A message from NHTSA and the Ad Council.
I love your car. Is this real leather?
Heading outdoors or on the water this weekend? Check in with Joey and Nelly on the Outdoor Line from 6 to 8 a.m. every Saturday on Seattle Sports and the Seattle Sports app.
Steamers get stolen. A steamer is a car running unoccupied to warm up or stay warm during cold temperatures. Every winter, Washington State sees an uptick in auto theft, and a major reason is steamers. So do not leave your car running unoccupied. You won't see it again. Share this information with friends and family. Prevent the theft and keep you and your vehicle safe. Don't get caught with your car running. These tips are brought to you by the Washington Auto Theft Prevention Authority.
Did you know that your windows and doors are your main source of energy loss? At Lake Washington Windows and Doors, our windows with triple weather stripping and gasket seals are up to 25% more efficient than Energy Star standards. LakeWashingtonWindows.com, a name you can trust.
Through February, for each window or door you buy, you get one at 50% off. Plus, make no payments for 18 months OAC. For details, visit LakeWashingtonWindows.com today, a name you can trust.
Guys, I'll never forget the first time I saw somebody get results at our clinic. He was an 81-year-old man who hadn't been intimate with his wife in over 8 years. Viagra had stopped working for him, and he was desperate for help. After several treatments, he walked into my office and told me he couldn't believe the results. Needless to say, this was a very happy man. This man made me a believer in what we do. He had taken pills for years, but he had never fixed the problem. When he came to us, we fixed the problem. Our treatment does what no pill can do. So give West Coast Men's Health a call today. Speak with our clinic manager. Ask him any question you like, how it works, the science behind it, and even the cost. Change your life today, like the thousands of men who already have.
With clinics in Redmond and Tacoma, call 206-519-6541. That's 206-519-6541. 206-519-6541. Online at westcoastmenshealth.com.
From the Quantum Fiber Studio, you're listening to Bumpin' Stacy.
Weekdays 10 to 2.
On Seattle Sports and 97.3 FM HD2.
You're listening to Bumpin' Stacy. Happy Friday. You're going to have a short show today. We're taking you straight to Cactus League play. Mariners-Padres starting at noon, 12:10 p.m. first pitch. You're going to hear a pregame show beginning at noon. Curtis Rogers in for Michael Bumpus, and we are talking about the Mariners right now. One topic in particular, small ball. Curtis, I would say, I'm kind of simplifying it here, but it was maybe the number one topic that I kept seeing brought up from our own listeners. I'm not sure how relevant or widespread the topic was in terms of all of Mariners fandom, but at least on our show, when we would talk about where the Mariners were struggling, when we would talk about offense, I would see minimum 5-10 texts a day on a slow day of people being like, you got to play small ball. You just got to do it.
Bunt.
And it started to drive me crazy because it is an oversimplification to just say play small ball. Oh, you mean bunt this 96 mile per hour? Like, it's complicated. However, is there truth to the idea that there might be a shift in philosophy Dan Wilson wants to take with this team?
I think so. And Dan obviously comes from that era of where small ball was very popular in baseball. Obviously, he also played in an era where guys were hitting 1 million home runs. But there was a bigger variance in the style of play being played back then than there is now, where it's basically the 3 true outcomes: strikeout, walk, or home run. Back then, you had guys with much higher batting averages and much higher stolen base totals and all of that. It's funny because last season, a lot of the fan base kind of reverted back to maybe old school thinking in how this team can improve themselves, because it wasn't just small ball. People were also like, get guys that have high batting averages, because
get a Luis.
Yeah, like
Arias, like,
exactly. Like, what is more important in a 2-out scenario late in the 9th inning? A guy that can work a walk, or a guy that can get a base hit? Because a base hit is going to do more damage than working a walk in that scenario. So I think there is obviously a value in those kinds of players. There's value in guys that can, lay a bunt down, that can get a stolen base. I look at Victor Robles and how impressive he was last year in his, 77-game stint with the Mariners. And I think having guys like that specifically in this ballpark, where they can hit from foul line to foul line, they can put the ball in the gap, they can put pressure on opposing pitchers and opposing catchers, like, all of a sudden now you have opened yourself up to a much more advantageous offense for yourself than kind of just resigning yourself to being like, well, it's our ballpark. We can't hit fly balls over the fence because of, how the marine layer works.
I would say the ballpark conversation has impacted my thought there as much as anything else, as much as watching them last year and the strikeouts and how frustrating that could be. But who was the MLB.com reporter who wrote up that great...
Mike Petriello.
Mike Petriello. Great feature on the ballpark, and he was on with us, and it was just good stuff. And he mentioned Luis Arias, too, but it was the same thing. It was an example of, like, maybe you need to start going for different players. And I don't even know that Jerry Dipoto and the Mariners purposefully constructed a team that was leaning heavy into home runs. And at times, particularly late in the season, was successful with that. It's just kind of what happened.
Right.
When you don't have your pick of the litter and when you don't have your choice of how you want to construct your team exactly because you're very limited in what you're spending, it's not always going to be a perfect reflection of exactly what you want, right? Like, if I'm very limited in my budget, I'm moving to a new apartment. If I'm very limited in my budget, it's not going to be all the furniture that I would absolutely love.
Right.
Like, some of it's going to be cheap. Some of it's going to be like a hodgepodge of just things put together. And I think that's what happened with this team, where they were like, we like a lot of it, but some of it we just kind of had to have.
Yeah.
And
it's like,
some of those things we had to have. Yeah.
Like,
and some of those things we had to have don't complement the other pieces. Like, they all kind of strike out and they all kind of have the same strengths. And you need a more complementary roster. So I think I initially not bristled, but rejected the idea that small ball was just this easy concept that if more people could get on base, they would. Like, there was a reason that maybe only the Guardians were kind of leaning into that.
Well, they've got an elite guy atop their lineup.
Yes, exactly. Yes.
Yeah.
And the Mariners just didn't have that guy. But like you said, there are some other approaches. It's maybe not just having all the right pieces at the right time, but utilizing your pieces in different ways. This was Dan Wilson on something he wants to emphasize.
I mean, it was a big part of what we
This is being aggressive on base paths.
did, and I think it's important, again, to be aggressive as much as we can, put the pressure on them. And, I think our guys, you got to have the personnel to do it, and we do. It's going to be a focus, and we're going to keep pushing it.
Do they have the guys to be more aggressive on the base paths?
You definitely have one in Victor Robles. I think Dylan Moore is another guy that is somebody that can put a lot of pressure on opponents. You've got Ryan Bliss is a pretty fast dude as well. Leo Rivas is a guy. I don't know if Leo Rivas has a spot right now on the 26-man roster. If camp breaks, he could potentially be a guy, when he does come up, that could put some pressure on the opponents. But they just don't have a lot of guys right now outside of that group of like 3 or 4 dudes. Julio, I think, could obviously be. Well, Julio is, I think, in that group too, especially with his stolen base totals over his first 3 years. High 20s, low 30s. So yeah, you've got about 4 or 5 guys, but of that group, I would say just Julio, Victor Robles, and Dylan Moore are regulars. And Dylan Moore maybe not as regular as what Robles and Julio are.
Okay, so I'll reframe the question to take an even bigger step back. Instead of just do they have guys that can be aggressive on base paths, do they have a team that if people are calling for get on base, drive-in runners, a modern version of small ball, I guess. Is this the team that you can do that with, or is maybe part of the bigger problem just still going to be like they have players who could do it per se, but there was clearly an issue with their approach to the plate?
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, if you're going to be an effective base runner, you're going to have to get on base. Like, if you are a fast guy but don't have that ability to get on base, your tool is wasted at that point. So a guy I look at like Dylan Moore, who has never been an amazing hitter, has come up with some pretty timely hits in his career, though, but a guy who doesn't get on base at a high clip.
Right, so you can't isolate the base running and say they have the guys.
Exactly.
If you're missing very important piece.
Base running only works if you get on base. So, and
you don't get a freebie from home to first?
Exactly. Well, and like a guy who did get on base, at least at a higher clip than most guys, is Julio, is that at the beginning of the year last year, he was brutal on the base paths. He was like, he got thrown out to end that Sunday game against the Cubs in April. There were a couple other brain farts he had out there. So it's not just there's so much more than just being fast and athletic when it comes to base running. It's decision making, it's timing, it's actually getting on base. The Mariners have athletic dudes, but you've got to be, I think, a little bit smarter in how you utilize that. I mean, I love Victor Robles' aggressiveness, but there was that game late in the season last year where he tried to steal home and got thrown out by a mile.
Right. We will jump back into the Mariners with Rick Rizzs, voice of the Mariners, who's joining us at 11. A little bit of a spring feeling there. Before we do that, though, I read a really interesting column about an advantage the NFC has over the AFC. That's next.
Seattle Sports, your home for Wyman and Bob.
I think you play as long as you still love it. You of anybody would be on board with that. You've talked about it a million times. It's no good on the outside, and you were trying to make a comeback at 40. And except for this show, I wouldn't leave, seeing Matt and Mike every day. I mean, it's really what brings joy to you every day, those two.
Even if a team came calling right now, theoretically, said, Wyman, we want you.
You're trying to kill me, right? Yeah, I got one play in me, and I'm going on IR for the rest of the season.
On Seattle Sports and 97.3 FM HD2.
I've always said, the car sales in the 1980s and 1990s, earned the rep that we have today. The concerns that consumers have because of what has happened in our industry in the past, they're warranted. It's our job to show them that that's not how business is done anymore, right? It's very different business. It's much more transparent. There's much more information that's available to people. And we're much more customer focused than I think the car industry was, 20, 30 years ago. I'm more focused on providing good customer service and relationships because I think if you take care of people, money will always come. So I think just the philosophy and the focus for us has changed, where I was constantly chasing a paycheck and now I'm just constantly trying to take care of customers and employees because I know if I do that, then my paycheck will take care of itself.
The LJ way is the Lee Johnson Auto family.
Why choose a Sleep Number smart bed?
Can I make my side softer?
Can I make my side firmer?
Can we sleep cooler?
Sleep Number does that. Cools up to 8 times faster and lets you choose your ideal comfort on either side. Your Sleep Number setting. And now save 50% on the new Sleep Number limited edition smart bed. Limited time. Exclusively at a Sleep Number store near you. Learn more at sleepnumber.com.
It's a classic odor tale. You fried fish for dinner, cleaned up, but the smell is still in the house. And the neighbors are coming over for game night. They're on their way. And then you spray Febreze Air Mist. Febreze Air starts working instantly to fight even your toughest odors, so you go from fish to fresh like that. Now all you have to worry about is Pam cheating at charades.
Breathe happy, Febreze, la 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 la.
If
you're 55 and up, T-Mobile has plans built just for you. 2 lines of unlimited for just $30 a line. That's a 45% savings compared to Verizon and AT&T. But don't just take our word for it.
It's not just the savings that are great with our T-Mobile plan. There's all this value from all these other things that T-Mobile offers.
T-Mobile has been such a savings for us.
We love it.
Switch today and get 2 free 5G phones like the Motorola Edge with Turbo Power charging that gives you power for the day in just 15 minutes. And customers 55 and up can get 2 lines of talk, text, and data for only $30 a line. Go to T-Mobile.com/choice55 to learn more. With AutoPay plus taxes and fees, plus $5 per line without AutoPay. Debit or bank account required. 45% off 2 lines versus AT&T Starter and Verizon Welcome. Plan benefits vary. Motorola Edge on us with 24 monthly bill credits and new line for well-qualified customers, plus tax and $35 per line connection charge. See details at T-Mobile.com. Motorola Edge requires 68-watt charger. Charger sold separately. Actual performance will vary based on usage and configuration.
Just Cause Legal knows the value of standing up for what's right. If you've been involved in a car crash, Just Cause Legal is here to fight for you with an aggressive team dedicated to securing the compensation you deserve. Just Cause Legal makes the process as painless as possible. Don't wait. Time is critical. Get the help needed today. Visit justcauselegal.com or call 253-859-8899 and meet your legal lifesavers. Just Cause Legal. Fighting for you.
Subscribe to the Seattle Sports YouTube page to find new and exclusive content from your favorite shows and personalities daily. Just head to YouTube, search Seattle Sports, and click subscribe.
Start the year fresh with Washington Energy's New Year, New Home Sales event. Upgrade and save 15% on energy-efficient Bryant heating systems for your home. Keep cozy and safe this winter storm season with 15% off Honeywell whole home generators. Prepare for spring with 15% off beautiful Anderson windows and reliable Simonton doors. All on sale now for a limited time. It's the New Year, New Home Sales event with Washington Energy Services, bringing good energy to your home.
Patrick was way behind on his IRS taxes.
I was in way over my head. The total amount ended up being somewhere just over $30,000. $30,000.
Then the IRS came to collect.
Started getting letter after letter. A lien had been filed against me. They were going to basically hang me completely out to dry.
He had to do something.
That's when I reached out to Optima Tax Relief.
Patrick's life quickly got a lot easier.
It was very easy, pretty much hands off. They picked up the ball and ran with it.
And how'd it go?
I couldn't believe it. I had to ask 2 or 3 times. I saved an incredible amount of money.
How does Patrick feel about Optima?
Couldn't be happier. They definitely helped me. Optima Tax Relief, the best place to call. They're the best in the business.
Do what Patrick did and call Optima Tax Relief for a free consultation. Call 800-343-6460. 800-343-6460. 800-343-6460.
Optima Tax Relief.
Testimonial from an actual client. Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
You're free now. Free to stream beyond your wildest dreams.
Rom-coms, slasher-coms, space operas.
Free to fill your feed with impossibly chunky chunkers.
Cats, corgis, babies on demand.
Free to make your smart devices do silly things.
Bowl of chips on the Robo-Vacuum.
Free to open a world of remote work and Gametopia.
Who's the boss now?
Free to be everything you imagine. That's how it feels to have Quantum Fiber Internet. Your world unleashed. Learn more at quantumfiber.com.
Limited availability, service in select locations only.
From the Quantum Fiber Studio, you're listening to Bumpin' Stacy.
Weekdays 10 to 2.
On Seattle Sports and 97.3 FM HD2.
Curtis Rogers in for Michael Bumpus. And Curtis, the best quarterbacks might be in the AFC. I think we can say that safely. I mean, a nod to a great season from Jaden Daniels. Obviously, Jalen Hurts is the winning quarterback this year out of the the NFC. But I think we can all look at where a lot of the MVP conversation was focused on, even a comeback player of the year conversation with Joe Burrow, and look straight to the AFC. However, the NFC has the edge in one key area, at least according to one NFL analyst. I read this really good column on the 33rd team. It's from Dan Pizzuta, and he said, sure, the best quarterbacks in the AFC, but the NFC has the best play callers. So he ranked every single offensive play caller in the NFL, and numbers 1, 2, 3, and 4 are all NFC coaches. And I know that you guys are probably saying,
presents a problem.
Andy Reid is 5? He is 5. But he has Kyle Shanahan number 1, Sean McVay 2, Matt LaFleur 3, and Kevin O'Connell 4. And I don't think it's a bad list. Andy Reid is one of the greatest play callers we've ever seen, but I'm not mad at this ranking. two of these play callers, head coaches from the NFC West in particular,
The
one
top
and
two.
two, the top two. Curtis, this to me, and I'll get to where Clint Kubiak is on this list, but this to me makes for such an interesting foil because then it makes me wonder, are NFC coaches doing more with less? Is the success from kind of former backups in the NFC or less than stellar quarterbacks in the NFC because of great coaching and play calling? What does it mean for a defensive play caller like Mike McDonald to be in a conference with such great offensive minds? I mean, what do you think of this?
Well, that last question that you had about this list, I think is the reason why the Seahawks chose to hire Mike McDonald and the reason why the Cardinals chose to hire Jonathan Gannon is because if you're looking for the best offensive mind and the two best, according to this list, reside in your division, the best offensive mind you'll be able to find that's available will probably end up being like
the eighth best.
The eighth best, yeah, exactly.
Maybe
so
worse.
You can't really fight fire with fire in that instance.
Good point.
So I can see why the Seahawks, even though Pete Carroll was a defensive-minded head coach, still went defensive-minded in Mike McDonald last year, and why the Cardinals have gone with a defensive-minded head coach in Jonathan Gannon after having an offensive-minded head coach in Cliff Kingsbury, who kind of fits the whole, like, I think Kingsbury was on this list, but again, probably not yeah, he was ninth. Exactly.
Yeah.
Like
I mean, there's still a lot of NFC talent throughout.
That's the exact point I made.
Yeah.
They hired the ninth best offensive play caller.
Right.
Like, you're not going to be able to outduel the Rams and the 49ers with worse personnel. So I think the Seahawks have noticed that and were like, okay, we cannot just simply follow the trend that has been going on. We got to do something else about this. And again, with the rest of the NFC, you've got to find ways where you can beat the AFC, because I get that your main competition is your division. Beyond that is your conference, and then even less than that is the AFC. Like, that's the pecking order of importance in terms of, like, who are you trying to beat? But if you're ultimately trying to go for a Super Bowl, you've got to figure out ways too where it's like, not only does this make me the best team in my conference, but I'm noticing what's going on over there, and I have to combat the insane quarterback talent that the AFC has. You've got the four best quarterbacks reside in the AFC, and there's really no debate either anymore as to who the four best quarterbacks are. You could maybe even make the case that, like, the 5 or 6 best quarterbacks in the NFL reside in the AFC. So you have to be able to set yourself apart in ways that other teams are not doing it. And I could totally understand why the NFC is like, okay, we can't beat you talent-wise, but we can out-scheme you, and we can build up our rosters in ways that the teams that have sunk significant money into just simply can't do that.
Before I get to where Clint Kubiak ranked, it really made me reflect so much on our conversation yesterday with Benjamin Solak about quarterback reclamation projects. And it is no coincidence that I don't know that anyone would look at the quarterbacks that the top 4 play callers had either this year or at some point, right? Like, Matthew Stafford's obviously great, but I mean, Sean McVay went to a Super Bowl with Jared Goff as his quarterback. Kyle Shanahan obviously went to Super Bowls with Jimmy G and Brock Purdy. Matt LaFleur with Jordan Love, great, but I don't know that people thought Jordan Love for sure would end up being a franchise guy. He was very much seen as like, well, let's see how he develops after Rodgers. He's the presumed, heir apparent, but I think that appreciation for him came on slowly. And then Kevin O'Connell, obviously, last year overseeing Sam Darnold, it really made me reflect on so much of what we learned from Ben about the importance of that relationship between play caller and quarterback. That if you're going to have a reclamation project quarterback, you better have a dang good play caller and some good weapons around him. That is part of the story. We're going to look at Jared Goff and go, wow, like, he really, I know it's a former first overall pick, so it feels silly, but he really made the most of his career after kind of being written off as only benefiting from Sean McVay.
Right.
And then obviously seeing lots of success with Detroit. But Sean McVay and more so Ben Johnson, huge parts of that story. Okay, let's get to a few other things from this list before we run out of time here. Clint Kubiak comes in at 24. Don't be offended. I
think that's kind of fair.
I think it's totally fair. So
he's been an offensive coordinator before, but is still, I think, pretty unproven.
Yeah.
He hasn't been in the best situations, and when he has been an OC, it's been just kind of 1 year here, 1 year there.
Well, or you had injuries in both of the, like with Minnesota, was that the same year Cousins started off hot and got hurt, or am I thinking of a different season?
I think it was.
21. Yeah. So you have, Minnesota as an example with Kirk Cousins. You have Derek Carr and what became a banged-up Saints team who at first looked like the best offense in football, and you knew that it wasn't sustainable. You knew that it wasn't, but there is enough there to keep you intrigued. And also, I think for plenty of people, too, enough in the latter half of the season for them to go, okay, is it injury? Is it not being able to respond? I'm not mad at 24 at all for the ranking. What I found the most interesting, though, has nothing to do with the Seahawks. It's new Cowboys head coach Brian Schottenheimer being 27.
Oof. And being that and getting the promotion.
And getting the promotion.
Not just like this is the hire that they made.
Wild.
Yeah. I don't know what the Cowboys are doing. And now they don't have Zach Martin anymore, their perennial all-pro guard, who a lot of people consider to be the best guard of the 2000s or, of like the 2010s or whatever. Yeah, it's a really interesting list. I mean, you're looking at a lot of guys, too, that in the past I think would be a lot higher. Josh McDaniels, who has had a long career calling plays for the Patriots, he's 23rd. And that's kind of like, how much is it McDaniels, how much of it was Tom Brady and his excellence and why the Patriots were what they were. Zach Taylor, who has taken the Bengals to a Super Bowl, but also is ranked 22nd. I think Cincinnati fans would probably kind of agree with that because Zach Taylor, I feel like, has benefited a lot from the talent on that Bengals roster, and he makes some kind of boneheaded decisions every now and then in terms of his play calling. Chip Kelly, 17th. Chip Kelly hasn't called plays at the NFL level in what? When he was the 49ers head coach? Yeah, when he was it's been a long time since Chip Kelly has called plays at the NFL level.
The Mariners begin Cactus League play today with a game against the Padres at noon. First pitch is at 12:10. We are getting you guys ready for spring with the voice of the Mariners, Rizzs, joining us next.
The John Schneider Show.
Every Thursday until draft day on Wyman and Bob.
We are now speaking with the architect of your Seattle Seahawks.
How we doing, football fans?
With Seahawks President of Football Operations and General Manager John Schneider.
My job is to do what's best for the Seattle Seahawks organization. I have to keep wrapping my mind around that and trying to communicate effectively.
Listen live Thursdays at 4 p.m. or watch the interviews on the Seattle Sports YouTube page.
What's the standard the Seahawks defense needs to be held to under Mike McDonald?
The John Schneider Show.
Brought to you by Pizza Hut.
Protein, protein, protein. Everyone is trying to get protein in their diet, but we need fats too. Healthy fat, that is, like the rich, natural peanut and almond butters found in G2G protein bars. Most bars don't have it because, well, most bars aren't real food or refrigerated. Fortunately for you, we aren't most bars. At G2G, you'll find a balanced helping of protein and healthy fat. The fact that they're delicious is just a bonus. They're fast, easy, and perfect for on-the-go families. G2G protein bars. Find them in the refrigerated section at Costco.
Do you need a new roof? Don't wait for summer to replace it. 3 Tree Roofing is here to help you save big this winter. Avoid summer's higher prices and longer wait times and protect your home's integrity now. Visit 3treeroofing.com for your free on-site estimate. Our certified installers make it easy and worry-free, no matter the season. Don't wait. Book your estimate today at 3treeroofing.com. Mention this ad and get $500 off your roof replacement. 3 Tree Roofing, your Puget Sound roofing experts.
The Gene Simmons Band, live Tuesday, April 8th at Muckleshoot Event Center. He's the God of Thunder. He's gonna rock and roll all night and bring you an unforgettable night of head-banging rock and roll. Get tickets now at MuckleshootCasino.com. The Gene Simmons Band, only at Muckleshoot Casino Resort.
Discover LeMay, America's car museum in Tacoma. Explore 300 world-class cars, 100 years of history, and a Shinka exhibit with 50 iconic Japanese sports cars. Thrilling race simulators and fun for the whole family. Visit americascarmuseum.org.
If you're 55 and up, T-Mobile has plans built just for you. 2 lines of unlimited for just $30 a line. That's a 45% savings compared to Verizon and AT&T. But don't just take our word for it.
It's not just the savings that are great with our T-Mobile plan. There's all this value from all these other things that T-Mobile offers.
T-Mobile has been such a savings for us.
We love it.
Switch today and get 2 free 5G phones like the Motorola Edge with Turbo Power charging that gives you power for the day in just 15 minutes. And customers 55 and up can get 2 lines of talk, text, and data for only $30 a line. Go to T-Mobile.com/choice55 to learn more. With AutoPay plus taxes and fees, plus $5 per line without AutoPay. Debit or bank account required. 45% off 2 lines versus AT&T Starter and Verizon Welcome. Plan benefits vary. Motorola Edge on us with 24 monthly bill credits and new line for well-qualified customers, plus tax and $35 per line connection charge. See details at T-Mobile.com. Motorola Edge requires 68-watt charger. Charger sold separately. Actual performance will vary based on usage and configuration.
Why choose a Sleep Number smart bed?
Can I make my side softer?
Can I make my side firmer?
Can we sleep cooler?
Sleep Number does that. Cools up to 8 times faster and lets you choose your ideal comfort on either side. Your Sleep Number setting. And now save 50% on the new Sleep Number limited edition smart bed. Limited time. Exclusively at a Sleep Number store near you. Learn more at sleepnumber.com.
Drivers who switch and save with Progressive could save hundreds. With that kind of money, you could go big time. The next time you're out to dinner with friends, you can order the shrimp cocktail for the table. And maybe you'll realize it only comes with 4 shrimp after you've already given away 3, but that one shrimp will be so good. And if you switch and save hundreds, you could get shrimp all the time. Switch to Progressive and you could save big time. For shrimp. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates, not available in all states. Potential savings will vary.
Old Spice Swagger Body Wash will make you the MVP of freshness and confidence. With its irresistible scent, it will transform your shower experience, leaving you feeling fresh on and off the field. Pair it with Old Spice Swagger Deodorant, the #1 aluminum-free brand that keeps you feeling like a Super Bowl champion 24/7 when used daily. But don't wait. This dynamic duo is available at Costco for a limited time only. Old Spice, official deodorant partner of the NFL and Super Bowl 59, where freshness meets football greatness.
This is the story of the one. As a maintenance specialist for university housing, he knows college students can major in wear and tear. Plus, housing so many students doesn't leave a lot of room to house all the supplies he needs. That's where Grainger comes in. With over 1 million industrial-grade products and fast, dependable delivery, Grainger carries the quality products he needs so he doesn't have to. From a new door hinge to a whole new faucet. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Hey, sell your car to Wayscar Ford, and when they resell it, they share half their profit with you. That's right. Sell your car to Wayscar Ford in Auburn. They'll pay you today for your car, and once they resell it, they'll share half their profit with you. Go to wayscarford.com for complete details.
Let's go! This is Seattle Sports.
Streaming through the Seattle Sports app.
KIRO AM Seattle. KIRO FM HD2 Tacoma. Home of the Seahawks, Mariners, and everything Seattle sports. Seattle Sports Snapshot.
The Mariners open up Cactus League today with a game against the San Diego Padres. You can hear that live at noon here on Seattle Sports and the Seattle Sports app. A big loss for the Cowboys. 9-time Pro Bowler and 7-time first-team All-Pro guard Zach Martin will retire, per ESPN's Todd Archer. He'll end his career as one of the most decorated Dallas linemen ever. Archer points out this wild stat from Martin's time in Dallas. Martin only accepted 7 holding penalties in his career, meaning he had just as many holding calls as he did first-team All-Pro nods.
Snapshot, brought to you by Miller Lite. When it's game time, it's Miller time. From the Quantum Fiber Studio,
this is Bump and Stacy
on Seattle Sports.
Streaming through the Seattle Sports app and at seattlesports.com.
Now, here are your hosts, Michael Bumpus and Stacy Ross.
Here we go now.
Voice of the Mariners, Rizzs, joining us now on the Emerald Queen Casino Sportsbook Hotline ahead of the Cactus League opener. You know, it's freezing up here in Seattle still, Rizzs, so I'm very excited to hear baseball later today. How excited are you to see these guys get going?
Oh, I'm excited, Stacy. It's a horrible 78 degrees, blue skies, green grass.
Thanks.
I'm down here by Steel. It's absolutely horrible.
Appreciate it.
You know, I wish I was back up there with you guys.
Gray.
Where it's cold and gray and rainy. But, man, there's this big ball of light up in the sky. I'm not really sure what the hell that is.
All right.
Oh, wait, it's the sun. No, it's a beautiful day out here. The guys are on field one, going through drills right now. We got our first game of the Cactus League season later on right here on Sports Radio. And can't wait to get going at noon today. Dan Wilson beginning his first full season as the skipper of the ball club, took over, as everybody knows, 34 games in the last year. They go 21-13 with Edgar Martinez. And so some new faces on this team, and it's going to be a lot of fun. Can't wait for Gary and I to get on the air here in the next few hours.
Yeah, I was going to say, I appreciate the light ribbing for us back up here in Seattle with that weather. However, Rick, I can't wait for you to set the scene out there. It really is. I mean, once, we hear, your voice and, we hear Gary, it's just some nice escapism, right? You start to feel like spring is around the corner. So I can't wait to tune in. I'm so excited. I'm going to start with that outfield. Shockingly, I know that, the number one thing you want to talk about, of course, is the starting rotation, but I am excited for a full season of Arozarena, Robles, and Julio. I know Julio was talking about how excited he is about that group. How different is this group from the one that broke camp last year?
I tell you what, they're loud and they're fun. Walking around, it's like the Three Musketeers. They walk together, they hit in the same group together. They have so much fun, so much life. I mean, you know what Julio does with that smile and the no-fly zone and the J-Rod squad. Well, Victor Robles the same way. He gave us so much energy last year, hit over 300, stole bases, created a lot of havoc on the bases, played great defense. And, with him in the lineup, the Mariners played very well there in the second half of the season, especially the last 34 games. Randy Arozarena, in the lineup all year long. Robles in the lineup all year long. Julio's going to have a great season. So it's fun watching these three guys have fun. And that reminds me of the days of Ken Griffey Jr. and that smile, and Mike Cameron when he took over for Jr. And the fans are going to love having these Three Musketeers out there in the outfield because they're so doggone talented, and they love playing the game of baseball, and it shows.
There are a lot of questions about the infield for the Mariners, but there are also some familiar faces, not just JP. Dylan Moore is going to be taking on maybe a bigger role than he ever has before. Rick, you know Dylan. Obviously, you've been around this team, but you've known him for years, have talked to him. How do you think he's embracing this moment, and do you think he's ready?
Yeah, I'm watching him right now, Stacy and Curtis out there at second base, along with Ryan Bliss. I think he's ready for the opportunity. For years, he's been a utility guy and won a Gold Glove as a utility infielder last year, his first Gold Glove. So, I think the bat is going to play. I saw him working on bunting a little while ago, which was amazing. I think we're going to see a different type of offense this year. But I think Dylan is ready for this opportunity. We'll see what happens. I think the world of this kid, so much ability. So now he's going to get an opportunity, with a great spring to be in there every day at second base. Great to have JP back, who's healthy. He was on the IL last year twice with a strained oblique, and that really puts you out for a month, and then the broken hand. And Polanco, can he play third base? He's going to be over there. You got Luke Raley over at first base. I understand we just signed Rowdy Tellez, so I just saw him in camp a few minutes ago. But I'm really excited about Dylan Moore. I think he's one of the most longest tenured guys on our roster, along with J.P. Crawford. But I think he's excited about the opportunity, and we'll see what happens this spring.
Rick, I'm really never sure how much control over style of play a specific manager has over a team. By that point, the team's constructed. You kind of have to go with where your strengths are. However, I always get the impression that Dan Wilson does favor a slightly different approach to offense, and you mentioned it with your last answer. What might we see more of this year, or at least see them try this year?
Well, we're going to see them do what they did last year at the last 34 games this season. And Edgar really turned this ball club around with his philosophy. I just talked with him yesterday. I said, what was the biggest difference? He says, Rick, I just got him to hit the ball all over the place. Use the entire field. Don't try to pull everything. Don't try to swing hard all the time with two strikes. Shorten your swing, hit the ball up the middle, hit the ball the other way. The Mariners struck out more times than anybody in baseball last year on their way to a major league record. And they changed their whole attitude. Edgar changed their whole way of thinking. Kevin Seitzer is the new hitting coach working with Edgar. He's from the same philosophy. With two strikes, don't strike out. Don't come back to the dugout. At least put the ball in play, make something good happen. And I think we're going to see a much different offense this year. Early in the count, use your God-given gifts of, making contact, hitting the ball a long way, but with 2 strikes, don't strike out. Put the ball in play, and I think we're going to see a different offense. I think you're going to see more bunting, and I think you're going to see guys get on base a little bit more often and stealing more often because Julio can steal a base, Robles can steal a base, Dylan Moore can steal a base.
Yeah.
So it's going to be a fun team to watch because they're not going to be striking out nearly as often as they did last year. And they really miss J.P. Crawford. Crawford knows the zone as well as anybody. A couple of years ago when he was healthy, he had all the walks and he had the 380 on-base percentage in that leadoff spot. And he played only 104 games last year. So with a healthy J.P. Crawford leading off, which he's going to be doing today during the first game of the spring against the Padres, that's going to be a huge difference.
Do you think that was the primary factor with kind of a little bit of regression we saw with JP last year, just injuries?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, because the oblique is a tough injury to come back from. When you have a strained oblique, it's a month. And not only is it just a month, but then it takes another 2 weeks to come back from being out for a month. So, I mean, I've seen that injury so many times with players, and that's about what it takes, to come back. And then later on, he does come back, and now he's just starting to get into a groove, and he gets in the hand, he fractures his right hand. So that set him back again. So last year was a frustrating year for him. So, the hitter relies on his hands, to swing that bat, and that was a tough year for JP. But he's healthy. I talked to him a couple of days ago, and he's ready to go. He feels great.
Hey, getting back to Edgar for a minute, Bump and I interviewed him. It was the first time for either of us interviewing him last year, so I hadn't yet talked to Edgar. Had only heard great things, and obviously loved him growing up. But I was struck by how passionate he was about hitting, and maybe I shouldn't be. That should be the most obvious thing. But he talked a lot about how hitters now kind of are forced to overthink. And it wasn't disdain, but I think that he had a pure love of hitting and felt like some of that had been lost with modern baseball. That was what I was reading between the lines. When you have conversations with him about how baseball's changed from when he played, if you've had those conversations, what does he say? What do you guys talk about?
That's exactly it. Back in the day, it was, put the ball in play. Edgar hit the ball the other way and up the middle when 2 guys were over there, instead of having a shift. And he couldn't figure out, he couldn't understand why players wouldn't hit the ball the other way. They just refused to hit the ball away. If during that long stretch of time where they had the defensive shifts, for about a 15, 20-year period, if you just tapped the ball the other way, you were on at first base, you had a double. But then they tried to hit the ball over the shift. They tried to hit the ball in the air, tried to hit the ball hard, tried to hit the ball far, instead of just getting a base hit. And that's what Edgar, preached to these guys last year. That's what he got Julio to do. Julio went from hitting, I think, 240 to 304 in the last month of the season with 9 of his 20 home runs. You can still hit home runs. And I love home runs more than anybody. Solo home runs, though, don't beat you. What I love more than anything are 2-run home runs, 3-run home runs, and a good old-fashioned grand salami. But that's what Edgar preached to these guys, and man, did it pay off in a short period of time. They got it, they did it, and they ended up going 21-13 or 23-11 the last 34 games of the year by keeping it simple. I was talking to him just a couple of days ago behind the cage. And I said, "What'd you do, Edgar? What'd you get to these guys?" He said, "Rick, I just try to tell them keep it simple. Put the ball in play, especially with 2 strikes. Hit the ball the other way. Hit the ball up the middle. Have an idea of your game plan from the time you walk to the dugout to the on-deck circle, from the time you go from the on-deck circle up to home plate. Be ready to hit. Have an idea what the pitcher's trying to do, and then just go to your strengths. Put the ball in play, and good things happen." So that's Edgar. That's what he did for 18 years.
Yeah.
And it's a game of failure. He said, you make 7 outs out of 10, and he's in the Hall of Fame. So you got to learn from those mistakes and don't do it again, and try to get a big base hit when it counts. And he always came through in a clutch, and he had the biggest hit in our history with that double down the left field line in 1995 against the Yankees. Right. He was just trying to hit a sacrifice fly, he told me. He was just trying to score Joey from third base. Here's a guy that could have won the game, with a home run. He wasn't trying to hit a home run. But the double scored Junior from first, too, with the game-winning run. He tried to do little things, and big things happen.
insane how much the mechanics and just the little tiny changes when you're trying for something big in a moment versus trying for what you can get in a moment.
Yeah.
It's just the tiniest things about baseball blow my mind like that.
Exactly. And that's what he did, Stacy and Curtis, with Julio last year.
Yeah.
I said, what about Julio? He said, he was late on the fastball. He was trying to catch up to the fastball. This is, late August. I said, what'd you do with Julio? He said, I just got to get with his hands back a little bit more and more of a hitting position where he could fire his hands. And all of a sudden, Julio became Julio again. So I look for Julio to have an outstanding year. He's going to win himself an MVP award real soon.
Love hearing that, Rick. You actually skipped to my next question. It was going to be, am I being too optimistic, hoping that something about that connection with Edgar leads to a quicker start, or maybe something clicking in a different way for Julio? But I think you're absolutely right. It's different when you're learning from a Hall of Famer, and there seems to be a genuine connection there. I do want to in our last couple minutes here. Look at these starters.
Mm-hmm.
I can't believe it took me 12 minutes to even get to the starting rotation. What am I doing? Oh my God.
I know. They're pretty good.
They're pretty. They're solid. They're really solid. I'm going to start with Kirby. We had Tim Kirkjian on a while back, and he said he sees a world relatively soon where Kirby is not just one of the best, but potentially the best pitcher in baseball. He sees that as his ceiling, and that is quite the ceiling. I feel weird asking because he's so wonderful, but where does he take a step forward from here? Where do you see room for that improvement?
Wow, there's no room for improvement with his control because he has the best control in all of baseball. He doesn't walk anybody, and if he has better control, I think we're going to see him early in the count because he throws so many strikes. He's going to have quality pitches early in the count. He's going to throw fewer pitches because hitters know they have to put the ball in play. Otherwise, he's going to strike them out. So I think he's going to go deeper in the games. And our starters, the 5 starters, went as deep in the games as any staff in all of baseball. But I think when you get to a certain point where you have that kind of success, and if they get some offensive support, they're going to be winning a lot of ball games, obviously. Mm-hmm. It's just about consistency. I talked to Logan Gilbert about this just a couple of days ago. I said, what are you working on? Everybody's working on maybe another pitch or shaping a pitch that they already have. Bryce Miller's working on a cutter this year. I said, which pitch is that now? 6? He said, no, that's 7. But they all say the same thing about getting better. It's consistency. And when George Kirby goes out there and as George Kirby every 5 days, Logan Gilbert out there every 5 days, Bryce Miller, Brian Wu, The Rock, Luis Castillo, every 5 days, this team is going to win a whole lot of ball games because it's the best starting staff in the major leagues. I wouldn't trade our 5 guys for any 5 in Major League Baseball, Stacy.
I wouldn't either, and I'm glad that they didn't. My last question is going to be about Logan. I'm glad that you had a story about him. Rick, I don't know how to explain why I feel this way. I think that like Kirby has some of the filthy stuff. I think maybe it's something about his mentality. I see him as like a shark, and something about that is just ruthless. But if you were to ask me, hey, which of these 5 starters, all great, is most likely this season to have a no-hitter, I'd say Logan. And I don't know. I mean, Kirby's got the command, Castillo's got the experience, but I look at Logan Gilbert and something about him just I just believe in. Tell me about your conversations with him this spring, and same question for him, kind of where he goes and what you see for him this season.
Yeah, he told me the same thing. I just want to be consistent. But when you look at him, when you talk to him, off the field or in the clubhouse, he's just the sweetest kid. He's just the nicest kid in the world. But then when he gets on the mound, he turns into Walter. He's got that alter ego. He's just a great competitor. Same thing for Luis Castillo and Kirby and Wu and Miller. They want to get better in each and every time out. But Logan just has that quality about him where, you know what, I'm the best guy on the mound today, and you're not going to beat me.
Yeah.
And he goes about his business that way. He led the league in innings pitched, Stace. He led the American League in strikeouts last year. These guys made all their starts, knock on wood. They all stayed healthy. I think they made about combined 149 starts together. Emerson Hancock, I think, made 12. Jonathan Diaz, who's starting game 1 of the Cactus League season today, made 1 start. So that says something, number one, about the training staff. What Pete Woodworth does and Trent Blank does with this pitching staff to keep them healthy and keep them going every 5 days. But there's just something special about Logan Gilbert, the way that he competes and goes out there with all of his pitches. He's got this bag of all these wonderful apparatuses that gets him ready for a ball game. You see him walking out in the outfield with this heavy ball. I don't know what they even call it, doing his exercises. He's got this ball that gyrates, and he puts that in his right hand. He goes through his warm-up tosses. So he just got his way about going about, getting ready before the season, getting ready before each and every start. And when, one of those guys is on the mound, that's our ace for that ball game. The Mariners are blessed to have 5 aces on their staff, but Logan is special, and so are the other guys, too.
Well said. He is the voice of the Mariners, Rick Rizzs. A Cactus League opener coming up in just a couple hours, you guys. And Rick, we have to let you go now. You have a very busy day, but I do want to say we cannot wait to hear your voice at the start of this game, knowing spring is around the corner, knowing the season is around the corner. It's gross and cloudy and overcast here in Seattle, but you're gonna make it feel like spring, Riz. So thank you so much for chatting with us today, and we'll talk to you later.
Stacy will bring you some sunshine. It's like Christmas morning. Get to open up the package and see what you have, So we're going to see what the Mariners have in 2025, and I love what I see right now.
Can't wait to listen. Thanks, Rick.
Thanks, Stacy.
Let's get to 4 Down territory.
This is 4 Down territory, going inside the game with former Seahawks and Coug wide receiver Michael Bumpus.
Stacy, first down, which big change is one NFL draft expert proposing?
That draft expert would be Mel Kiper Jr. on Field Yates' Thursday episode of the First Draft Podcast said this.
If I'm a quarterback, there's no way I'm throwing at the combine. There's no way. If I'm an agent, I'm no way I'm advising a quarterback. There's only a downside to it because you're with receivers you've never thrown to. You see how they operate. You got to listen to and do what they tell you to do. In a pro day, you dictate policy, okay? You have your receivers. It's on your schedule, on your timeline. It's what you want to do. Nobody tells you what to do. They tell you at the combine. So I'm not throwing at the combine. Now, Justin Herbert threw at the combine. Looked great. He still was the third quarterback taken behind Burrow and Tua, but he looked good at the combine. But, at the end of the day, pro days don't mean a lot for quarterbacks. I don't think the combine means a whole heck of a lot. Most of these teams know who they like and who they don't like a quarterback. I know prior to pro day they do. I know for a fact that's the case because they already knew who they were drafting before some of these quarterbacks threw at the pro day.
I get it. Mel knows way more about the draft than I do, and he also he is in a much better position than I am to offer advice to what quarterbacks should and shouldn't do, and that includes his advice to not throw at the combine, or at least understanding why agents would advise their quarterbacks not to do so. However, if you are Shedeur Sanders, if you are Cam Ward, you don't need to do anything. You don't need to do anything. There are quarterback needy teams at 1, 2, and 3. You are going to be one of those picks. Case closed. You don't even need to show up. You don't need to do anything at all. It's still so hard for me to wrap my mind around the idea that a guy like Jackson Dart couldn't benefit from doing something at the combine, considering the stock bump that he saw from a great Senior Bowl. I mean, I saw Field Yates mock Jackson Dart to 21 overall to the Steelers in his last mock, in part because of those kind of pre-draft activities. So I would say for high round picks, that makes perfect sense. But if you're a guy that, it could be the difference between being a 3rd or 5th round selection, yeah, I'll throw at the combine.
Second down. Stacy, Mel Kiper mentioned something else in the very same interview that highlights just how much the league has changed over the last 15 years. What was it?
I could not believe it. His take was that Shedeur Sanders might not be what the NFL is looking for right now.
Big part.
Yes, and he did not say Shedeur isn't going to be a very, very high draft selection, but it was an interesting take. He said it's not because of personality or some pre-draft draft story or traditional red flag, but because he's a traditional pocket passer. This was the exact quote. I don't buy into the fact that Shedeur Sanders isn't an exciting prospect because he's not going to beat you with his legs necessarily. But he said we can't write off the old school traditional pocket passer, and I think that's what this ties into here, that NFL teams just aren't as interested in that product. I think Shedeur Sanders is still going to be, if not pick number 1 overall, who might be Cam Ward, it's going to be the second quarterback off the board. Maybe it's to the Browns, maybe it's to the Giants, whatever. He's not going to last long at the top of the draft there. But I find it so fascinating because we can all think of how the game has changed from when we first started watching, or when certain trends piqued our interest. And a trend that piqued my interest was obviously in 2012, the Seahawks were had really found something special with Russell Wilson. So we were talking about quarterbacks in a different way here in Seattle, certainly. But you also had Cap at the same time with San Francisco, RG3 with Washington. And I remember in 2012, heading into 2013, there was a very prominent conversation happening about young mobile quarterbacks, and the idea was, wow, how fun. How do you stop these guys, but will it last? Do they have the football IQ? What happens if they get hurt? Do they put themselves more at risk of injury? I remember all of these conversations, and all of that has changed, and it's been barely 15 years. Just wild.
Third down. Stacy, one thing still stands out from our interview with Benjamin Solak yesterday, and it's a point he made about Geno Smith. Remind us what we learned.
So Ben thinks the Seahawks should absolutely add to the quarterback room because Geno's turning 35. He also thinks it's possible we have not seen the best of Geno. And I know those things feel contradictory, but Ben explained his reasoning here.
We talked about, Baker Mayfield and Sam Darnold and some of these reclamation projects, and I brought up the elite receivers that they played with. Geno was doing it with DK and Tyler Lockett. Good receivers. I wouldn't go so far as to be like, oh, those are Mike Evans, Justin Jefferson caliber of players. These other guys also. Sam Darnold with Kevin O'Connell, Ryan Tannehill with Arthur Smith, Baker Mayfield with Liam Cohen, Dave Canellis. All these guys have gone on to get head coaching jobs. Geno's OC got fired, right? The Shane Waldron, they moved on from Shane Waldron, but Ryan Grubb comes in. Now they got to move on from him again. What Geno has done in his reclamation it has been remarkably more challenging. It has been a much bigger uphill battle than it was for any of the other guys. And I think we can confidently say he has been reclaimed. He's clearly a starting caliber quarterback in the NFL. So if we fix the line, if we get an offensive coordinator in the building who's got maybe a little bit more gas in his arm, I don't even think we've seen the finished product of Geno the way we've probably seen the ceiling on Baker Mayfield, seen the ceiling on Jared Goff. We know what the ceiling was with Ryan Tannehill back in the early 2020s.
Really cool concept to think of. Yes, add to the quarterback room. Absolutely. Geno's 35. You're not quite sure how long he's going to last. Age is a cliff in the NFL. That's what Ben said. However, there is a world where we may still see a career year from Geno with the right offensive coordinator, with the right weapons. It doesn't mean that career is going to be 2029, but might it be 2025? We're going to skip fourth down territory and get to what's on tonight.
What's on tonight with Bump and Stacy, brought to you by Caesars Sportsbook at Muckleshoot. Now, here's what's on tonight.
The Mariners begin Cactus League play today. Pre-game's at the top of the hour. First pitch at 12:10 p.m. right here on Seattle Sports. Timeline coming your way next.
Blue 88 on Brock and Salk.
Brock, what is your bold prediction for the Seahawks this year?
Every day at 7:45.
I was looking at the numbers defensively when it was all said and done. Finished in the top 15 in your major categories. I think year two with more time on task. Year two with a couple additional pieces. Year two with everybody basically coming back defensively and hopefully adding a difference maker third corner. This could be a top 5 defense in the league.
Blue 88, answering 3 football questions as only Brock Heward can.
The Gene Simmons Band, live Tuesday, April 8th at Muckleshoot Event Center. He's the God of Thunder. He's going to rock and roll all night and bring you an unforgettable night of head-banging rock and roll. Get tickets now at muckleshootcasino.com. The Gene Simmons Band, only at Muckleshoot Casino Resort.
Mike Rowe here with a quick question. Have you noticed mold, mildew, bowing walls, or water in your basement? I hope not, but if you have, your basement is losing the war against groundwater. That's where Groundworks comes in. They can honestly assess your situation and create a plan to waterproof your basement and stabilize your walls. Schedule your free inspection at groundworks.com/row. And while you're there, check out my latest dirty job. It's a good one.
Licensed in all states where work is performed. See website for details.
Did you know that most people wait 6 or 7 years before they buy a new TV? That's a lot of time in front of one TV. So why not get one of the best sets for the next 7 years, like one of the top-rated Samsung, LG, or Sony models? Too expensive? What if you could get up to $1,000 trade-in for your old set? Who would do a stupid deal like this? Right now, at Video Only, you can get big bucks for your old set as a trade-in and a hot price on the new models. Don't be sorry. Check out Video Only.
When you're in the thick of a project, Harbor Freight is the place that always comes in handy. Whether you're picking up something for your pickup truck or a power tool for your project, at Harbor Freight, your dollar always goes further. And these days, when everything seems to cost more, you can take pride in knowing that you get hard-working tools at hard-working prices. Whatever you do, do it for less at Harbor Freight.
I learned patience from my adoptive dad. All he had to say was,
"Hey, you got this. Just breathe." Hey, we're pretty good.
Yeah.
Might have to start a band.
I got it.
Learn about adopting a teen from foster care. You can't imagine the reward. Visit adoptuskids.org to find out more. This message is brought to you by Adopt US Kids, the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, and the Ad Council.
Oh, could this vintage store be any cuter?
Right? And the best part? They accept Discover.
Accept Discover? In a little place like this? I don't think so, Jennifer.
Oh, yeah, huh? Discover's accepted where I like to shop. Come on, baby, get with the times.
Right, so we shouldn't get the parachute pants?
These are making a comeback. I think.
Discover is accepted at 99% of places that take credit cards nationwide. Based on the February 2024 Nielsen report.
Why choose a Sleep Number smart bed?
Can I make my side softer?
Can I make my side firmer?
Can we sleep cooler?
Sleep Number does that. Cools up to 8 times faster and lets you choose your ideal comfort on either side. Your Sleep Number setting. And now save 50% on the new Sleep Number limited edition smart bed. Limited time. Exclusively at a Sleep Number store near you. Learn more at sleepnumber.com.
The John Schneider Show.
Every Thursday until draft day on Wyman and Bob.
Listen live Thursdays at 4 p.m. or watch the interviews on the Seattle Sports YouTube page.
This is Matt Coker from West Coast Men's Health. Has Viagra stopped working for you? Do you hate the side effects? If you've taken Viagra for any length of time, you already know that pills are not the solution to ED. Here at West Coast Men's Health, we have a better approach to ED. Acoustic wave therapy creates blood flow circulation by safely removing the plaque in your arteries and restoring function naturally. No pills, no shots, no surgery. We can also treat Peyronie's disease. Our non-invasive treatment for ED is painless and highly effective. We have treated thousands of men just like you. Stop living with this problem and do something about it. Do yourself a favor, do your partner a favor, and call us today.
Call 206-519-6541. That's 206-519-6541. 206-519-6541. Online at westcoastmenshealth.com. HSA cards welcome and financing available.
Why choose a Sleep Number smart bed?
Can I make my side softer?
Can I make my side firmer?
Can we sleep cooler?
Sleep Number does that. Cools up to 8 times faster and lets you choose your ideal comfort on either side. Your Sleep Number setting. And now save 50% on the new Sleep Number limited edition smart bed. Limited time. Exclusively at a Sleep Number store near you. Learn more at sleepnumber.com.
Lowe's knows that your business is built on speed and trust. That's why the Lowe's Pro Desk is here to get you what you need the moment you need it. We'll help you plan your project, calculate your materials, and pivot when your job takes an unexpected turn. And with our pro-only checkout and dedicated pro parking, you have what you need to tackle your job and be back on the job in no time. Just visit us at the Pro Desk. Lowe's knows pros. We help. You save.
This is The Timeline
with Bump and Stacy.
Brought to you by 1-800-DUI-AWAY.
It is The Timeline on Bump and Stacy. Curtis Rogers in for Michael Bumpus today. And Curtis, you with a beard and many other bearded people everywhere are going to be happy to know. It's a big day for beards. The Yankees have ended their long-standing facial hair policy, which barred players from growing beards. And speaking to the media about the policy earlier today, Hal Steinbrenner said a reason for the change was not because it's 2025. It's because the team feared they were losing out on players in free agency because of it. And you know what, Curtis? They might have been.
That will get a lot of teams to change any ridiculous policy.
Dudes love beards.
Oh, yeah. I grow a beard because I look like a soon-to-be 34-year-old baby without one. I look like a child.
One thing I
beard.
did not realize until well into adulthood, not having a beard myself, and having mostly like female friends that we didn't talk about beards.
Your friends don't have beards.
It's
either,
not a compliment women typically pay each other. One thing I did not realize is that people, like, I thought every person was capable of growing a full beard.
No.
So I didn't realize this. And now I understand in a very different way beard envy. And not only can some people not grow beards, but you might grow like, I can only grow like little tiny patch here and like not there. So now I get it.
Yeah.
And I get why guys wouldn't want to shave their beard.
Exactly. I have not been clean shaven since I want to say
like 8 years old.
Pretty much. No, I think it was 2014 maybe was the last time I was clean shaven. The reason why is when I first started working here, I was an intern and like I didn't know what the building culture was like. So I was like, you know what? I'm just going to shave my beard in case there's like some ridiculous beard policy.
Yeah.
And come to find out, like that does not exist at all.
In case Bonneville's like the Yanks.
Yeah, there used to be an engineer that worked here. His name was Zach. Who had like the longest beard imaginable. So when I saw him for the first time, I was like, oh, okay, there is no beard policy. But yeah, like it's 2025. What are we doing with baseball? Beard policy? Yeah, it's baseball. You're not working an office job. You're not working in, where you got to wear a suit every day.
I think it's this classic Yankees high and mighty. We are better than you. We don't need you. This is how we do things. And it's really easy to hang on to baseball's past ideas of decorum when you are the best thing in baseball. You know what I mean? Like part of baseball history is you. So of course you're celebrating that. Of course you're saying we do things differently here. But like, I think it's okay to relax that a little bit. It can still be part of your identity if that's what you want it to be. But you are gonna rub people the wrong way who are gonna say like, look, if I'm someone who has an equal chance to sign with the Yankees or the Dodgers, like if I'm a high prized free agent.
For sure. And I also wonder, too, because one of the premier free agents that's going to be in the 2026 offseason is Vlad Guerrero Jr. Vlad shaved his dreads, but I believe he still has a beard. And, I mean, if you're going to ask him to shave his beard and he says no, like, that is such a avoidable reason to have somebody if that was the only thing standing in between a player signing with the Yankees and them signing elsewhere, get rid of the rule. So that's why I commend the Yankees for doing that because, it's obvious if that was keeping players away from your team, you want to get rid of that. But also, like we've talked about, it is 2025.
Yeah.
Like, why wasn't this relaxed a bunch of years ago? I also will say you made up a great point too, Stacy. The Yankees could get away with this because they're the Yankees.
Yeah.
If the Miami Marlins were like, we have a facial hair policy, it's like, what are you? Who are you to just tell people what they can and can't do?
Imagine like the Mariners and Pirates being like, so here's the deal: we are not going to pay you top dollar. We also need you to shave your beard.
It's like, you should be so thankful that these players are interested in
That's
your
more
team.
like a boot camp situation.
Yeah.
Like a player misbehaving. They're like, we're going to send you there.
You've got to get the high and tight haircut.
Another big change coming to baseball. Next story here. ESPN and Major League Baseball are ending their 35-year partnership after this season. In a memo sent to the 30 teams, Rob Manfred said a reason for the breakup is that MLB hasn't been pleased with ESPN's lack of baseball coverage, out of games in recent years. It also means MLB will be looking for a new home for Sunday Night Baseball, the Home Run Derby, and the Wild Card Round. Where might that new home be?
It could be a number of places. I would imagine every network that's not ESPN will be looking to get a piece of the pie, whether it's like NBC, CBS, maybe Fox wants to broadcast more games. They already have one of the championship series and the World Series every year and the All-Star game. All these properties are very valuable for sure. And maybe Apple TV becomes a bigger player. I know some people who are listening right now, they hear the words Apple TV and they groan because it's just so much.
Are you making fun of Wyman and Bob?
Yes. If they're awake right now. They've got a much later start today than most days. But the broadcast quality of an Apple TV broadcast, like, say what you want about the play-by-play guys, maybe they're not your cup of tea, but the camera quality is incredible.
It's 5K. Is that a thing?
It is. The graphics package is incredible.
Yeah.
If you're baseball and you want your product to come across as like just so sparkly and so immaculate, then Apple TV is where I would look first if I wanted to move all these valuable properties of Sunday Night Baseball, Home Run Derby, and the Wild Card Round. That's where I would look. I also kind of wonder what the ramifications are for a lot of the talent at ESPN too. friends of the show, Tim Kirkjian and Buster Olney and Jeff Passan, who goes on with Brock and Salk during the baseball season. Like, those are three of the most popular
prominent
voices in all of baseball. Like, where do they go? Do they stay at ESPN? Sure. Like, I would imagine somebody like Tim Kirkjian and Buster Olney, who have been there for decades, like, why would they want to, change jobs now? But also, if ESPN is no longer going to platform baseball, and they have even less reason to do so now that the two sides are splitting up after this season, like, when was the last time you saw Tim Kirkjian or Buster Olney on First Take? It's been forever.
Yeah.
Like, it's usually around All-Star break when that happens. But I kind of wonder what the future is for those guys at ESPN, because they've obviously meant a lot to the network. But right now, I mean, boy, 35 years, I mean, ESPN and baseball, at least for millennials like me, is kind of synonymous with each other. I know older fans remember when baseball and like NBC had a big partnership. I know NBC used to show the World Series up until probably like the year 2000 and whatnot. But like, I think of when some of my most vivid baseball memories are watching Sunday Night Baseball with like John Miller and Joe Morgan, and watching Chris Berman do the Home Run Derby, and watching Baseball Tonight. Like, that was a nightly show. That was appointment viewing. That was your best avenue to gain information on the rest of baseball. And it was always cool when they'd show a Mariner highlight or two.
I know broadcasting news doesn't always capture our attention in the same way as the things that happen on the field or trades and signings, but this is major as we head into the 2025 season. Let's get to our next and last story here. Two more blue blood college football programs are nixing their spring games. This time it's Texas and USC. These schools join Nebraska as three power conference programs who are choosing to combat tampering by not holding a spring game.
I think this is going to happen more and more in college football, especially with programs that have as much sway as Texas and USC do. Nebraska was a power in the 90s, so I don't know if they have necessarily as much sway in those kinds of things, but all three of those programs do get good TV ratings when they're on. I wonder how the networks feel about this, because those games would get televised on ESPN, ESPN2, and ESPNU, and back when the Pac-12 network was a thing, you'd see all the Pac-12 schools on there. Like, that's 3 hours of content in springtime, where the broadcast schedule is probably not as thick as it is during the peak of the NFL season and when like the NBA and the NHL and Major League Baseball are going on. So maybe the networks might try to force something for these schools to do. But look, if tampering is as big as it is, as we think it is in college football, then absolutely you want to do something to combat that.
All right, time for the IRG Injury Report, brought to you by IRG Physical and Hand Therapy. Mariners GM Justin Hollander told the Hot Stove that reliever Jackson Kowar is progressing well from Tommy John surgery, and we should expect to see him in May. Here's that update.
Jackson's doing great. He had a full ligament reconstruction, unlike Matt, who had the brace inserted. So it's a little more significant a recovery, but he is tracking to be in Major League games toward the early part of the season, something like late May, we think is realistic. And he was awesome last spring. We're really excited about the steps he had made in the early part of camp. Obviously, the velocity is something he's always had, but the shape on the fastball was really playing, and he's always had a dynamic changeup, and that was really electric last spring. Hopefully, there's no setbacks in his recovery as we get into games in the spring, and we're seeing Jackson back in games and sometime in late May.
All right, Cactus League play coming your way in 20 minutes, and what I need to know is coming your way next. Get your questions in, 866-979-3776.
The John Schneider Show.
Every Thursday until draft day on Wyman and Bob.
We are now speaking with the architect of your Seattle Seahawks.
How we doing, football fans? With Seahawks President of Football Operations and General Manager John Schneider.
My job is to do what's best for the Seattle Seahawks organization. I have to keep wrapping my mind around that and trying to communicate effectively.
Listen live Thursdays at 4 p.m. or watch the interviews on the Seattle Sports YouTube page.
What's the standard the Seahawks defense needs to be held to under Mike McDonald?
The John Schneider Show.
Brought to you by Pizza Hut.
Hi, Justin Shirley, CEO of State Roofing and Exteriors. With thousands of full replacements with expert craftsmanship and unbeatable warranties, we've been building roofs you can trust for over 5 decades. It's more than just a job, it's our promise to you. Protect your investment with a free Golden Pledge warranty on all GAF roof replacements over $15,000. Call 866-ROOF-ROOF or visit stateroofing.com today to schedule a free estimate. State Roofing and Exteriors, held to a higher standard since 1968.
Start the year fresh with Washington Energy's New Year, New Home Sales event. Upgrade and save 15% on energy-efficient Bryant heating systems for your home. Keep cozy and safe this winter storm season with 15% off Honeywell whole home generators. Prepare for spring with 15% off beautiful Anderson windows and reliable Simonton doors. All on sale now for a limited time. It's the New Year, New Home Sales event with Washington Energy Services, bringing good energy to your home.
Bring on the sunshine with a trip to see your Seattle Mariners. Come to sunny and warm Peoria, Arizona for another great year of spring training baseball. There's no better time to wind up at the Peoria Sports Complex where you can see all your favorite Mariners up close. Spring training in Peoria has plenty of sunshine, warm temperatures, and the best seats in baseball. It's family fun for all ages. Book your trip today. Support your Seattle Mariners in Arizona for another exciting spring training season. Get your tickets at PeoriaBaseball.com.
Emerald Queen Casino, the entertainment capital of the Northwest. The best place to watch all your favorite sports. Featuring wall-to-wall viewing screens, 6 windows, and 30 kiosks. Be there at EmeraldQueen.com. Emerald Queen Casino, the entertainment capital of the Northwest.
Guys, your testosterone level impacts your energy, drive, weight, hair loss, and even ED. Revive Men's Health Seattle will check your T level for free. For your free T-level check, exam, and consultation, call 206-529-1111 or visit ReviveMen'sHealth.com.
Mornings can start feeling the same. Wake up, brush teeth, go to work. But with breakfast from Wendy's, it's like, wake up, brush teeth, Baconate with a breakfast Baconator. Roll with the sausage breakfast burrito. Buddy it up with a honey buddy. Or get seasoned with seasoned potatoes. And then go to work. Sorry. When you're ready for a fresh wake-up call, gotta be Wendy's.
At participating U.S. Wendy's during breakfast hours.
Why choose a Sleep Number smart bed?
Can I make my side softer?
Can I make my side firmer?
Can we sleep cooler?
Sleep Number does that. Cools up to 8 times faster and lets you choose your ideal comfort on either side. Your Sleep Number setting. And now save 50% on the new Sleep Number limited edition smart bed. Limited time. Exclusively at a Sleep Number store near you. Learn more at sleepnumber.com.
Bonneville International radio station contests are open to participants 18 years of age or older that are residents of Washington State unless otherwise specified. Employees or agents of the station, Bonneville International Corporation, other area radio stations, or any entity associated with the contests are not eligible to win unless the station otherwise specifies at its own discretion. Persons who have won in the last 60 days from a station contest or event may not be eligible. Full general contest rules are available on seattlesports.com or in person at the station during regular business hours.
Seattle Sports is heading to Arizona for spring training baseball. Go behind the scenes with Brock and Saw all next week from 6 to 10
on Seattle Sports.
Why choose a Sleep Number smart bed?
Can I make my side softer?
Can I make my side firmer?
Can we sleep cooler?
Sleep Number does that. Cools up to 8 times faster and lets you choose your ideal comfort on either side. Your Sleep Number setting. And now save 50% on the new Sleep Number limited edition smart bed. Limited time. Exclusively at a Sleep Number store near you. Learn more at sleepnumber.com.
It's a classic odor tale. You fried fish for dinner, cleaned up, but the smell is still in the house. And the neighbors are coming over for game night. They're on their way. And then you spray Febreze Air Mist. Febreze Air starts working instantly to fight even your toughest odors, so you go from fish to fresh like that. Now all you have to worry about is Pam cheating at charades.
Breathe happy, Febreze, la 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 la.
If you're looking for a new Mazda, go see our friends at Mazda of Everett. With over 790 new Mazdas in stock at 11409 Highway 99 in Everett, they have something for every budget and credit type. Save up to $3,970 on new Mazda CX-5s. Come meet the team and see why they've been Washington's largest Mazda dealer since 2015. Exceptional service and always their lowest prices. Visit in-store or online at MazdaofEverett.com today. MSRP for stock number 26315 is $30,585.
Safety comes first. When money is tight, don't neglect maintenance on your vehicle. Keep it safe. At Bucky's Complete Auto, we have you covered with available financing. For over 50 years, Bucky's Complete Auto has been servicing and repairing cars and trucks with modern-day technology and good old-fashioned customer service. There's a Bucky's just about everywhere for oil changes, wiper blades, brakes, tire rotation, tune-ups, and factory maintenance. No appointment necessary and financing's available. Check Bucky's.com for the location near you.
From the Quantum Fiber Studio.
This is Bumpin' Stacy.
Weekdays 10 to 2.
On Seattle Sports and 97.3 FM HD2.
Get your questions in for What I Need to Know. You're going to be with us for about 10 minutes here until we send you to Mariners pregame. And then you have the Cactus League opener. San Diego Padres, Seattle Mariners today, 12:10 p.m. first pitch. Spring has sprung, at least in Peoria. Get your questions in to the Mac and Jack's text line, 866-979-3776. What I need to know. I like this one from the 253. Will having Randy Arozarena, Victor Robles on the opening day roster take away the pressure Julio had last time this season to perform at his best all the time?
I sure hope so. I will say yes. I think the presence of those two will help Julio get off to a better start. My biggest question with those three is not with Julio or Randy Arozarena, but also can Victor Robles do this over the course of a full season?
Mm-hmm.
He had about 300 at-bats in a Mariners uniform and had a phenomenal season.
Yeah.
And if you extrapolate that over the course of 162 games, you're talking about a surefire all-star, maybe even an MVP candidate. I don't know if that is Victor Robles' actual ceiling. Sure hope it is. He was a highly touted prospect at one point in his baseball career with the Nationals, and then it was never going to get off the ground in Washington. It happened here. So hopefully if he has the same kind of season that he did a year ago, that just makes everything move in a much better direction.
We talked about the Yankees changing their policy, now allowing close trim beards as opposed to no facial hair. Someone said, you are a bearded person.
Man.
They said, what I need to know, what would it take for Curtis to shave his beard? Is there like some kind of incentive that you could get, an amount of money, unlimited food item? Like, what would make you go, okay?
Here's the thing, is that my wife has instructed me to never shave my beard.
Oh, then there is no
likes
number.
It. Exactly. Yeah. I think there's a monetary value that we could hit where my wife would be like, you're stupid if you don't shave your beard, hon. Like, what are you doing?
All of a sudden, Brenna's like, listen, we're doing this.
Yeah, you're doing this.
She gets the clippers.
Yeah, exactly. But if there's no money transaction, I don't think it's going to happen. I don't think I would ever sacrifice it in any kind of bet. It would take a while.
How long does it take to grow out a beard? Like if you did shave your beard, how long would you? Like I would never shave my head. It would take me years to get my hair as long as it is.
It would take me probably a couple weeks to get it back to where it's at right now.
It's a different world men are living in. What I need to know. My new coworker invited my wife and I out tonight to meet each other's significant others, maybe like a double date situation. My wife's not feeling well. Do I still go by myself or do I cancel?
It's a great question.
Have you ever been in that situation?
Yeah.
What's the move here?
I think you try your best to schedule another get together, especially if your coworker is like adamant that your spouses meet each other, thinking that they will hit it off.
Exactly.
Because if not, I think there might be a bit of disappointment for your coworker's wife where it's like your spouse had told you that they would be there and they're not, and it's just the guy that you already know.
Yeah, all due respect to our listener, I think this might be like a meet and greet for the wives to be friends.
I think so. I don't think it's about you and your coworker, buddy. I think it's about the wives.
So I think that they would be happy to reschedule because it sounds like they just really, like maybe he thinks like, oh my God, your wife is going to hit it off with my wife. I know they'd be friends. Like it's kind of like a play date, you know? It's like, well, my kid can't go. Should I? I think that you should absolutely, this sounds like a really fun double date event, and you should reschedule to a time when all four of you can be there. And I hope you guys have a ton of fun.
Yeah.
Let's see. What I need to know. What's your favorite nerd hobby like board games? Denny said every time he sends a sports question, we don't do sports questions, and when he does non-sports questions, we do non-sports ones. So we'll do this one. Your favorite nerd hobby? Whatever you consider a nerd hobby. He said board games.
I'm not a huge board game guy. I would say my favorite board game of all time. I don't like Monopoly. I don't like sitting through that. I don't like Risk or anything like that. Takeoff. I don't know if
no, I don't know.
It's not a very popular one.
Is it a flight simulation game?
It's about airplanes.
Okay.
Yes. You start on one side of the world. I believe you start in Hawaii, and you have to travel around the world by rolling dice, and you then draw a card to see where your next location is. And if you get bumped off of the city that you've flown to, you got to go all the way back to the start. It can last pretty long. That's a fun game.
This isn't a traditional nerd hobby. I just consider it nerdy, even though everyone, I think, in my mind does this. Anytime I watch a show, I'll listen to a podcast about the show. Anytime I'll go to the subreddit talking about the show, and I'll look at theories about the show.
Just all information about this.
So like I am watching Married at First Sight. I listen to a Married at First Sight podcast with Sarah Kalana, who's a comedian and John Ryan's wife.
That's right.
She's really funny. And then I go on the Married at First Sight subreddit and look up theories. And then I feel like for every show, for White Lotus, I do the same thing. Like it's just, I do deep dives into whatever it is that I'm watching. So it's not nerdy. I think that's pretty common. These podcasts are popular and subreddits and all that, but yeah, I would say I get way too addicted to whatever it is I'm watching.
I don't think it's any different than sports fans watching a game and then immediately flipping over to SportsCenter or immediately tuning on Seattle sports and being like, I need to know more about this game. I need to know more about what I just saw. It's just a different way. It's just a different kind of content that you're nerding out over. We're all the same, people.
We're all the same. The 253 says my new coworker is female. Shame on me. Oh no, I'm sorry, 253. I made a big assumption. Let's see. What? Thank you for correcting me. What I need to know. Oh, God. Okay, we have a hard out, but I'm going to save this one. It's about a sister-in-law and a bad house guest.
Ooh.
I'll save it for Monday, I promise. I'm going to paste it on the show sheet.
What a tease for next week.
I love it when people send in those ones. They're the absolute best. Just heads up for what I need to know in the future. This isn't what we're doing right now, though. We are sending you to Cactus League play. It's the Mariners taking on the San Diego Padres. First pitch at 12:10. Pregame show is coming your way now.
Seattle Sports is heading to Arizona for spring training baseball.
Knowing every night when you go out there that you're going to get a great pitching outing is tremendous.
Go behind the scenes with Brock and Salk as the Seattle Mariners get ready for the 2025 season. All next week from 6 to 10.
Back she goes, going and going. Goodbye, baseball. He did it. Julio Rodriguez.
And hear every pitch of spring training baseball on Seattle Sports. Streaming on the Seattle Sports app.
Holy smokes.
Exciting personal news. I happen to be driving a brand new Bronco Sport from Wayscar Ford. The bad news is I spent way longer than I anticipated at the dealership because I truly couldn't decide. It's not my fault. They have so many options at amazing prices. Mark, what gives?
Well, we have a lot of inventory right now, Stacy, and they're priced to sell. Compare our prices to our competitors. Make sure that you check out what rebates that the dealers are putting on their pricing because you probably won't qualify for a lot of them. The rebates we have online on our prices are ones that everybody qualifies for. We don't play games, there's no gimmicks, and there's absolutely no pressure, and it's all backed up by a 5-day or a 500-mile, 100% money-back guarantee. And our new cars come with a lifetime powertrain coverage. Buy with confidence. We'd love to see you.
So wayscarford.com. Again, those prices are for real, like Mark said. And I'm really glad I did it. It was worth the trip to go out there. Your staff was so incredibly nice, knowledgeable, and accommodating. That's Wayscar Ford in Auburn. Wayscarford.com.
Joe Montana here. In my football days, I knew the importance of a strong defense. Now I'm sharing how you can help defend your health against pneumococcal pneumonia and invasive pneumococcal disease. Are you 50 or older like me? The CDC now recommends vaccination against pneumococcal disease. Even if you're healthy, your age puts you at increased risk and over 6 times greater risk of hospitalization with pneumococcal pneumonia than adults under 50. Schedule your appointment today at vaxassist.com.
Sponsored by Pfizer.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm.
Chuck McDowell here again. Over the years, I've seen way too many timeshare exit companies pop up, take folks' money, and disappear. I just saw an ad from an exit company started by a couple of bozos that used to work for me. My advice, don't hire bozos out fire. Want out of your timeshare? Call me and I'll send you our free timeshare exit info kit explaining your options for cancellation.
Call Wesley for your free kit. 800-949-1441. 800-949-1441.
Why choose a Sleep Number smart bed?
Can I make my side softer?
Can I make my side firmer?
Can we sleep cooler?
Sleep Number does that. Cools up to 8 times faster and lets you choose your ideal comfort on either side. Your Sleep Number setting. And now save 50% on the new Sleep Number limited edition smart bed. Limited time. Exclusively at a Sleep Number store near you. Learn more at sleepnumber.com.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm.
Chuck McDowell here again. Over the years, I've seen way too many timeshare exit companies pop up, take folks' money, and disappear. I just saw an ad from an exit company started by a couple of bozos that used to work for me. My advice, don't hire bozos out fire. Want out of your timeshare? Call me and I'll send you our free timeshare exit info kit explaining your options for cancellation.
Call Wesley for your free kit. 800-949-1441. 800-949-1441.
Attention! If you owe money to the IRS, this is an urgent message. The IRS is cracking down by sending out collection letters, garnishing paychecks, seizing bank accounts, and putting liens on homes and businesses. They call it enforced compliance, and you better watch out because penalties and interest on unpaid taxes compound daily, making it even harder to get out of debt. Don't let tax debt destroy your life. You need to call Optima Tax Relief, America's #1 tax resolution firm. They're experts in taxpayer assistance programs that can save you thousands if you qualify. A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau, Optima's resolved over $1 billion of tax debt for their clients. Let them fight on your behalf, helping to put your tax problems to rest. Call the tax professionals at Optima now for a free consultation.
Call 800-343-6460. 800-343-6460. 800-343-6460. Optima Tax Relief. Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
Free consultations, no fee guarantees, 5-star reviews. J.P. Pendergast with Pendergast Law explains the importance of going beyond these familiar offerings.
Accident victims want an attorney, Tom, that satisfies their needs. Someone who handles those needs with the highest degree of care. Pendergast Law offers the no-fee guarantees and free consultations, but these only scratch the surface.
Okay, explain more.
We make sure that every member of our team is genuinely passionate about helping others. Customer service and communication are our top priority. It's how we take care of our clients so they always feel one step ahead of the insurance companies. Our strong reputation for high standards provides comfort and confidence when it's needed most.
Pendergast Law offers the free consultations, the no-fee guarantees, and, of course, they are 5-star rated. But what really makes them different is their genuine passion for helping others. I can't recommend them enough.
If you or a loved one has been injured in a car accident, call Pendergast Law. We can help.
That's PendergastLaw.com.
This is Mariners baseball on Seattle Sports.
Take every game with you on the go by downloading the Seattle Sports app.
7